Okay, so I understand there was a few talk around trying to figure out what the F was. And we had a few wrong guesses, but we finally got a right guess during the service here. All right now I'm wishing that I had been able to come to the public speaking classes, but I was not able to do that. I did know enough to wear my blue shirt, though, so we're going to hope for the best here. One night I was out to dinner several months ago and just randomly started talking to the person next to me. And I don't know if you guys ever do this, but when you're talking to somebody you don't know, a stranger, sometimes the truth comes out because you're not worried. You're not afraid of what they might think of you or what perception they may have or how they take things. You walk away from the conversation and say, that was good. So I'm sitting there talking to some stranger, and they asked me a question, and we were talking about something that I've kind of thought about doing and things. And they said, well, why don't you do it? And I went, I'm living in the wrong F still. And that moment hit me, and they looked at me, and I went, Yep, that's my problem. I'm still living in the wrong F. So there are two Fs that can determine the direction of our lives and how we live each day. Do you know what they are? Fear and faith. Fear and faith. And I realized I was living in fear. Every day we do choose one. And sometimes maybe we switch back and forth several times throughout the day between fear and faith, depending on what we're experiencing at the moment and what's happening. But which one do you allow to drive your decisions? Which one of those do you allow to drive your destiny? And that's a really big question for me. As I thought about this, of course, poor Cindy, she gets all my things. I come in, I'm like, oh, I had an aha moment, hear this. Or, oh, this happened, and my fear, and whatever. So she gets to hear all my stuff. But I had the aha moment, and ever since then, I've been being shown where I am living in fear in my life as opposed to faith. We all in this room, most of us, we believe in God, and we know God's love. We know God's miracles and God's power. Yet we're still making decisions based on the wrong F. Fear is loud. It is really loud. Faith is quiet. Faith is that little quiet voice that's guiding you, but fear yells, and it can stop you from hearing and stop you from listening. Fear's woven into our physical beings through our past experiences of other people, or just things that we've been told over and over and over again, maybe since we were little. And we've created this fear. Maybe it wasn't even something that we experienced. So why do we hold on to that fear? Sometimes it's really easy to recognize. Sometimes it's something physical. Fear of snakes. I'm really terrified of them. Spiders, thunderstorm, the lightning. There's a lot of very physical things and you may not know why you're afraid of them. But you feel like all your life you've been afraid of this thing that's physical. Easy to recognize, easy to see. Sometimes our fears are so subconscious that we're not even aware of them. It's really funny because as I started thinking about this, I feel like I can see the fear in other people. I can see the fear that's driving them to make certain decisions and make certain choices so much easier than I can see what's in myself, the fear that I'm holding on to. Fear allows us to kind of be stuck. Fear allows us to be offended. Fear allows us to be angry, and it allows us to turn away from other people and to turn away from God. One day, shortly after talking to Cindy about this, in meditation one morning, I got that I needed to check in with Cindy today. And, I hear you. Okay. And I didn't do it. And 2 days later, I came into church, and I said, how are you? And she said, oh, I'm not good. I'm having a terrible week. And I said, well, she said, I just had a really bad day this week. And I said, was it Tuesday? And she said, yes. And I was like, I am so sorry, because I was told to check on you. But I didn't. But the truth is, I didn't, because fear was guiding me. Even though this was about Cindy and somebody else, fear was guiding with me. Without, I felt rejected and abandoned at a very, very early age. My parents really were not capable of giving the love that a child needs. And I don't blame them. It's what their capabilities were at the time. And I've forgiven them over the time, but what I learned really early is the pain of rejection and how that feels to me. And so sometimes I turn away from connections even when Spirit is guiding me to make them, because I'm still fearful. I'm still fearful of being rejected. I'm still fearful of feeling that pain. And my fear keeps me safe. It keeps me comfortable where I am. So sometimes we're paralyzed in fear, and we can't move on. We can't step forward. Fear can stop us. Maybe in a bad relationship, maybe a job that's not working out for you. You're not going anywhere you want to go. And it doesn't matter how many people know it and how many people come to you and say, oh, no, you'd be much better off over here. It's okay. You need to do this. You need to take that leap. That fear keeps us right where we are, where we're comfortable, and we don't have to step out. The known feels safer and more comfortable in the present. So sometimes we sit there. Sometimes we leave good things. Sometimes we'll be in a great relationship. Things are going fantastic. You have this wonderful job. Everything in your life is going great. And you're scared to death. So you quit your job. You get out of your relationship. It might be a partner. It might be friends. Because sometimes we're scared of being truly seen. We're scared of other people really seeing all of our good and all of our bad. Let's face it, we all have some things we're not proud of and things that are keeping us fearful of what other people see in us. Sometimes we might think, in a job, we might think, I don't really know what I'm doing here. That imposter syndrome. I can't go on to the next job. I can't go look for a promotion because I don't even know what I'm doing here. And somebody's going to figure that out. And that fear keeps us there. I call it kind of the fear of success. We're really kind of afraid of what's going to come with it. And right now I'm comfortable. Life is good. I want to stay right here. But that's actually holding us back. It's keeping us from moving forward. Sometimes we're fearful of very seemingly easy decisions. We purchased a house that needed a lot of work, and I've spent hours and hours and hours on the computer. Somebody can testify to that. and, asking questions and looking at pictures and getting other people's input to make decisions and do things in the house. But the truth is it's kind of this paralyzing fear that I'm going to make the wrong decision. And then I'm going to have to live with it all this time. So I spend hours and hours and hours and hours researching. And it just we just have so many different ways that we allow that to creep into us. So how do we shift out of it? You guys know the story of David and Goliath. The soldier said the giant was too big to fight. David said, he's too big to miss. The giant didn't change. The perspective did. And in this new perspective, he wasn't afraid. And he knew God was with him, and he knew he had this. So how do we shift our perspective? With faith. Faith is the truth. Faith is God's promises. When we're in fear, we forget God's promises. But when we turn back to faith, we remember them. We remember God's faithfulness. We remember his promises. We remember his miracles. Have you ever worried about something incessantly? What if? Fretted over it, didn't know what decision to make, only to discover later on that God's already taken care of it for you. So why does every new problem feel like the first one we've ever asked him to solve? Right? Why do we always forget that he's taking care of all these other things for us, but this problem he's not going to get? This problem he is not going to understand. I don't know what I'm going to do. Matthew 6:33 and 34, he says, do not worry about tomorrow. Fear asks, what if? Faith says, I don't know tomorrow, but I know who holds tomorrow. So I think of it kind of like, as I was thinking about this, I was thinking about sitting in a rocking chair and going, what if? What if? What if? And you're rocking back and forth in a rocking chair, spinning your wheels, lots of questions, lots of movement, zero progress. You're getting nowhere. When I walk in faith, God leads me to where I'm supposed to be. He gives me the strength to keep walking and stop asking what if. Fear shrinks God. It shrinks our knowledge. It allows us to forget about God. In the Aquarian Gospel, this is, I think, just a beautiful. I love this story because, well, Peter is faith. He does represent faith, Jesus, and his disciples all just followed him fearlessly. He said, give up everything you have if you want to follow me, and come to me, and come. And they did. And they followed. But they still questioned. They still had some fears. And I think this story really reminds us where it is. The disciples were on their boats at sea in the storm, and they were filled with fear. And as the night went on, that got stronger, the storm got stronger, their fear got stronger. And then John looked out and saw a figure standing on the waves, and they were all like, that can't be. Who is this? And John discerned the form and said, it is the Lord. And then the wind blew not so hard, and Peter, standing in the midst, exclaimed, my Lord, If this be truly you, bid me to come to you upon the waves. The form reached forth his hand and said, Come on. Peter stepped upon the waves, and they were solid as a rock. He walked upon the waves. He walked until he thought within himself, What if? What if the waves break beneath my feet? And then the waves did break beneath his feet, and he began to sink. And in the fearfulness of his soul, he cried, Oh, save me, Lord, or I am lost. And Jesus took him by the hand and said, O ye of little faith, why did you doubt? And Jesus led the way unto the boat. Peter walked on the water because his eyes stayed on Jesus. And as soon as he turned and looked at the wind or feared the wave, the fear took over and the storm was stronger. His focus changed. Where your eyes go, your faith follows. What are you looking at? Worried about politics, the economy, been to the doctor recently, worried about maybe a health issue, worried about your relationship issues, your bank account? Or are you looking at Jesus? Whatever fills your vision fills your heart. Faith doesn't deny reality. Faith says, my problem is real, but my God is bigger. Faith isn't seeing first and then believing. Faith believes before seeing. Noah built the ark before the rain came. Abraham left his home before he knew where he was going. When I was young, I had a faith that I didn't understand. I don't know why, but church felt like comfort to me. Even when no one else in my family went to church, I had the little church bus come and pick me up and take me to church. And it was my peaceful spot. I didn't delve into the Bible. I just needed to feel comfortable. Dun, dun, dun. It just felt right. It felt like it was some place that I belonged. I think everything that I was experiencing at that time, God knew I needed faith. He knew I needed him. And he led me to the church where I could get that, where I could feel that, to help me remember who I was, and that with him, I was safe. Years go on. We get busy. We get out of making it to church. But I still had that faith. And I was talking to someone many years ago, and this person said to me that I had the most faith of anybody they've ever met without proof. And the truth is I was proud of that. I was like, thank you. I feel that way sometimes. Like, I really do have faith that something's going to work out, and I don't know where it comes from. I don't have proof, but I've always had it. I've kept that faith my whole life, even if I wasn't regularly attending church. And then something happened one night. Several years ago, in the middle of the night, I was wakened, and I had this overwhelming need to confess all these things that I ever knew I've done wrong in my life. I'm on the ground. I left the bedroom. I went to another room because I'm sobbing and I'm crying. And I'm like, back in the third grade, I think I did this. And I mean, it went from, I stole somebody's pencil to bigger things in life. It went on for quite a while. And I knew I had to ask for God's grace. I knew I had to, for whatever reason, I was led to spill it all, tell it all, everything that I knew. And in the end, I was like, and I'm sure there's things I don't know. And I didn't mean them either. And I had to ask for his grace and his forgiveness. Things just poured out of me. In the end, I did ask for his love and his grace. And I felt his love pour over me. I felt it differently than I'd ever felt it before in my life. It was overwhelming. And then I'm crying because I'm like, oh, thank you. This is so great. Thank you. And it really just felt different than anything I'd ever known before. And I knew now that I had the proof. I had it. The next day I called my Aunt Patty, who came today, because she is such a woman of faith and someone that I love and look up to. And I was like, I don't know what to do with this. And she prayed with me, and it led me into kind of a deep dive more into the Bible and learning all of those things that I never really paid attention to. And we talk maybe once a week, maybe twice a week. Whenever a question came into my mind, I picked up the phone and called Patty. Because even though I now knew I had faith, I now knew that there was a whole lot to learn about it and a whole lot of questions and things to give up for it. Since then, I've seen God everywhere in my life, in every aspect of my life. One particular thing, a lot of you have already heard this, but I decided I needed to find a church and that I wanted to find something without religious sect. I just wanted to find something spiritual. And someone had told me about a church in Buckhead. And so I thought, I'm going to get online. I know this is out there. InterQuest Church popped up. No. This church I'm looking for is in Buckhead. So a couple of weeks, a week goes by, it's getting close to Sunday again. I'm like, I'm going to look for this church again. I'm going to go to this church. InterQuest. No. You're not getting it. I'm looking for a spiritual church. It's in Buckhead. The third time I said, okay, maybe I'm supposed to go to InterQuest. And it's only 15 minutes away. Why did I want to go to Buckhead? So I pulled up, and I saw this little building, and I was like, oh, I'm not going to be able to go unseen to this church. And I sat in the parking lot, and I cried. Fear had hold of me. I'm like, I'm not going in. I can't go in. Something came to me and said, this is where you're supposed to be. You need to go in. I snuck in the back, and I sat in the back, kept my mouth quiet, just listened. But as I told you, I was starting to question a lot of things, and like I'd have a new question, and I'd go diving into the Bible, looking for the answer to this question. And one of the questions I had that week was what Cindy was speaking about that day. And I left, and I went, this is my church. This is my place. Faith allows us to look at those questions, to look at our own mistakes that we've already made, learn the lesson, and accept the truth. That allows us to grow and get bigger, get stronger in our faith, and keep moving forward. Let's go back to Peter real quick. 11 disciples stayed in the boat. They were safe on the boat. They saw Jesus. They're like, we're going to be okay right here. This is better than moving out there. One walked on water and experienced God's miracles. Sometimes we would rather stay in the boat than risk trusting God. But when we trust him, we can experience the miracle. Every day we battle the 2 F's. Fear says don't give, don't forgive, don't serve, don't try, stay comfortable, keep things quiet. Faith says trust me, step out, forgive, give, love, and believe. It doesn't mean we don't have questions. But in faith, we find the answers because we actually learn the answers are already there. So how do we live in faith? Release the worry, the fears, the stories that you tell yourself. They have no place on your highest path. You have the power to transform, to create a new life, to heal, to live out your dreams and be at peace. It's in you. It's the Christ in you. Begin to listen to your inner voice. Trust, follow the path that you're being led down. This is the beginning of a completely new conversation with yourself. I have faith in God. All right, let's go within and anchor it. Take a deep breath in and let it out. Ask that a column of God's light come over you. Let's take down a path. As we walk down that path, we're questioning which way to go. Where are we going to be led? We see a fork in the path. You choose one side. You go down that side. There's a set of steps. Walk down through the steps, and you see a room. As you walk in, the room is dark. Fear starts to creep in. Whatever fear you're feeling at this moment, gather it. Bring it to a ball in front of you. Take all of that fear, let it form into this ball right in front of you. Ask your angels to come in and take that ball from you. Lift it up high, watch it fall high up into the sky. Let them give it to God. Now ask that God fill this space with his light and his love. What color is the light for you? How does that feel for you? Continue out the other side of this room and open the door to the garden of your heart. What does that look like for you? Do you feel God's love? Come back to that whenever you feel that fear creeping back in. Feel your body back into your seat. Wiggle your arms, wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes. Take a deep breath in. Open your eyes when you're ready. Notice where you live in fear this week. and turn to God and give it to Him. Thank you.